And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we begin. I think a big round of applause as we start the first session of Ideas of India. And it has to do with a Viksit Bharat, a developed India by 2007, which encapsulates the vision of a prosperous India, one with high incomes and advancements across sectors such as the economy, infrastructure, education, healthcare, and social welfare as well. Now, economists say that India needs to grow at a minimum of 8% to achieve that goal. So then, is the vision of a Viksit Bharat by 2047 actually realistic? What can be done to move faster towards this goal? Let's hear from a learned industry leader with decades of experience and expertise. Please welcome onto the stage Dr. Anish Shah, Group CEO and MD, Mahindra Group. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Dr. Shah also took charge as the president of FICCI in December. Congratulations. I'd like to welcome on stage Shankar Aiyar to join us and moderate the first session of the day.
Welcome to the first session. The world is talking about Modi 3.0 and we have here Ideas 3.0. I think Pandey ji, acha idea hai. So this is about the session as announced is about Viksit Bharat, where we will head in 2047. But I believe you have a excellent presentation for the first. So why don't you sort of start and then we can sort of have a little chat after this.
Thank you, Shankar. And I'd like to just share a few thoughts. No PowerPoint. It's much easier to just talk. And I'd like to start with saying it's an absolute privilege to be here with you on a topic that is very important for India today. India is the 5th largest economy in the world, moving to being the 3rd largest. India will also soon be the largest civilization on the planet. And more importantly, India has started playing a leadership role on the world stage already. It's a fragmented world, but India is leading in geopolitics, India is leading from an economic standpoint, and in many other areas that are important for the world, like climate change. We are growing today at 7% annually, and I believe we will hit 8% next year and going forward. Over the next 7 years, the Indian economy will add as much to the world GDP as will the entire European Union combined. We have also taken leadership in enhancing the lives of people. The theme of G20 was Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. One earth, one family, one future. Therefore, my idea of India is inclusive growth. We have to balance very delicately the economic growth that we want to achieve and doing good for society and ensuring that that economic growth is shared across all segments of society. A Prime Minister's vision of Viksit Bharat is bold and inspiring. Let's understand what that means in terms of numbers. A 30 trillion economy by 2047 with $17,250 of per capita income. That's up from 3.5 and about 2,500, 3,000 respectively. This means that manufacturing should be 25% of GDP. The implications are that manufacturing must grow 16 times in the next 23 years. 16 times. Exports must grow 11 times. Are we ready for it? Beyond the numbers, the vision also is that every segment of society should benefit. And that India will continue to play an even larger role on the world stage. So let's look first at what is the foundation that gives us a confidence that we will get there. The foundation starts with economic stability. And this has been done over multiple years. We've seen the union budget over multiple years prioritize what I call economics over politics. It has been setting up long-term growth through a much higher investment in capex, through many other mechanisms that ensure fiscal discipline and set up India very well for this long-term growth. The RBI has done a stellar job in fighting inflation, being proactive around doing so, and in multiple other areas to ensure that there are no economic shocks that come in. Despite the fact that the world has gone through many shocks, we've been protected with the proactive action. Infrastructure is being rapidly developed. Roads, ports, airports, logistic hubs, everything that's required to make manufacturing competitive in India. Ease of doing business is a very key priority, and the recent budget talked about states getting incentives for doing so as well, which is a very welcome step. So to make this vision a reality, each of us has to play a role. And I'd like to outline 4 areas that are critical. First is Make in India. Remember the time when we would all look for foreign products because all the foreign products were the really good ones? Even some of the younger folks in the audience, I think, would remember that time because that wasn't that far back. Today that has changed. 99% of mobile phones are made in India. Beyond that, India exports $1 billion of mobile phones every year. India manufactures, or is the second largest manufacturer of footwear. And we've got some great companies that do that here. Automobiles, my favorite topic. India makes world-class cars today. Our cars have beaten all the global majors in India, hands down. You just look at the numbers that we've sold of the XUV700, of the Thar, of the Scorpio N. It's far, far higher than any of our global competitors. And I would give a lot of credit to the Tatas as well. They've done a stellar job in building a world-class business here also. So Indian manufacturers have come to the stage with products that are world-class today. With R&D in India, we will be leading the electric revolution not only in India but also around the world. The second topic I talk about is women-led development. For India to get to Viksit Bharat, this is critical for us. And it requires a lot of change. There are many biases, there are many aspects of our culture that need to change. And we need to ensure that we have an inclusive culture in companies across the country. We need to have equality. And this is one that has to be a priority for each one of us. At Mahindra, we have taken a target of educating 1 million girls every year and of skilling 1 million women every year. But skilling 1 million women is still not enough. And we need everyone else to join in this and really make a big difference. The third is farm prosperity. India has the ability to feed the whole human race. We're the world's largest producer in a number of areas. In milk, pulses, spices, tea. We're the second largest producer in wheat, rice, fruits and vegetables. And we're still doing this without a very high degree of mechanization. Think about what we can do if our farms get mechanized in a much bigger way. And let me give you one metric here. We make tractors. We're the largest producer of tractors in the world by volume. We also make farm equipment. Farm equipment around the world sells 2 times as much as tractors, 2x. Farm equipment in India has sales of 5% of tractors. So think about the mechanization level that we can achieve and how we can transform agriculture with that level of mechanization. And the final point I'll talk about is sustainability. This is not for us, this is for the next generations to come, for our children and their children. We are custodians of the planet for them. And the actions that we take today will define how they will live and the challenges that they will face. India has taken a leadership role which the world did not expect. 5 years ago, the narrative was that the Western world is going to lead climate change and developed countries are going to, including India and China in that sense, we're going to follow and not lead climate change. But India is leading climate change today. It has set ambitious goals to be 50% renewable energy by 2030 and is well on its way to doing so. And there again, each of us has to play a role. So in closing, here's a call for action for industry. We have to be a lot more ambitious. We have to embrace the destiny that we have to reach Viksit Bharat, to grow manufacturing 16 times, to ensure that there's equality for women in our country, to ensure there's farm prosperity, to ensure that we're leading on the sustainability field as well. We have to do it now. Our time is now. And that's a call for action. Thank you. And Shankar, with that over to you.
That sets us up for a very good chat. You have a unique vantage point. You are the president of FICCI, and that gives you a view of small, medium, micro enterprises, fellows. You're also the CEO of Mahindra, which is at the intersection of the urban and rural economy. From that vantage, how do you see, I mean, you said a very interesting thing about inclusive growth, your idea of India. The way geopolitics is playing out, the way global economic stories are playing out, US is growing, Japan, Germany, UK are struggling, India is growing. What are the big challenges that you see to your idea of inclusive growth? And I'm sure a lot of people in this room who applauded subscribe to the idea of an inclusive India. What are the challenges globally, and what does that translate into how Mahindras are approaching it, how you would like industries to approach it? Let me break up that. The first part is the challenges that to inclusive India growth.
So lots of great questions, Shankar. For global challenges, we have lots of them today. At one point in time, we used to talk about a VUCA world. Right? That VUCA world seems to be a very nice and tame world compared to what we live in right now. There's always something happening on the global stage that impacts us, and we've got to quickly scramble to act. But the good part there is, we're used to it now. We've done that. And we are quick to act, we're quick to pick up on challenges and address them. Also, India's grown. At one point, if something happened in the world, as the saying was, the US sneezes, the world catches cold. India doesn't catch a cold anymore, because India has shown a strong path for growth with the challenges around the world. And again, I would give a lot of credit to the policies that have enabled this to happen. During COVID, governments around the world were essentially printing money and handing that out to everyone. In retrospect, that wasn't that great an action. that caused inflation, that has caused a number of other challenges that countries are grappling with today. We did not do that. We were proactive in inflation, and today inflation really is not an issue in India. So India is much better positioned to handle those challenges right now.
How is Indian industry, from your standpoint as FICCI president, how is Indian industry sort of leveraging those challenges into opportunities?
Indian industry, if I were to look at it across from a FICCI standpoint, is very excited about this. I must say that industry has been in some sense waiting and watching as well. Because of some of the challenges, if we look at the growth in capex from a private standpoint, it has not been as high as it should be. It's been government capex that's really driven the economy so far. But private capex is starting to grow now. Capacity utilization in multiple sectors has started to reach a point where there needs to be more investment, and we are starting to see significant investments being made by various different companies that's benefiting the MSMEs in a significant way. We started to see FDI coming in. The world is looking at India today as a major destination, not as China plus one, but India in its own right. And as that happens, MSMEs and the ecosystems that get built around it will benefit significantly. So from an industry standpoint, I think it's a good time for industry to be bold, to invest and really participate in this growth that India has today.
Last year, if you remember, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, while speaking to industrialists, said, compared the situation of private industry with Hanumanji, who didn't know, I mean, what would it take for you guys to know your strength? What exactly was the hurdle for Indian private industry to invest, to ramp up capex, and how do you see that easing out? Was it the cost of money? Was it the uncertainty in the world? Which part of the story played on the minds of the industrialists?
I'd say it's more the uncertainties around the world, because the balance sheets today are very strong, and therefore the ability to invest is far greater than it has been for many years. And as industry has gotten better at addressing some of the challenges, as industry is seeing India not getting a cold when the world sneezes, that's creating a lot more comfort and confidence. Though even a year ago, some of us were investing in the auto industry. Over the last 2 years, Mahindra has doubled its capacity. Now that's not an easy task to take, to say we're going to go out and double capacity, but that's what we've done. And even we're finding that's not enough, so we're adding more capacity even now. In the tractor industry, we added capacity by 60%. So investments have been made, they just need to be made at a greater pace over the next few years.
So, in this wide swath of verticals that Mahindra is involved in, I don't know how many people in the audience are sort of recognize this. Your group is involved all the way from infotech to rural to SUVs to building homes. How has Mahindra leveraged this opportunity and challenge? And the second question, I'll come to the technology part of it, because you made a mention of technology in your presentation. But how has, beyond leveraging, beyond ramping up capacity, what would you say has been the hallmark of Mahindra's attempts in growing the economy?
So first, in terms of where Mahindra stands today, we are driving exponential growth across our businesses. For our large businesses, auto and farm, where we got market leadership, we are looking at a much more aggressive global growth. Electric vehicles, of course, and a lot more from a farm mechanization standpoint. We've got what we call 10 growth gems. These are businesses that are today valued around $1 billion each, and the challenge for each of them is to grow 5x in the next 5 to 7 years. As our CEOs come in and say we're going to grow 25% a year, we look at that and say that's way too low, right? You've got to start thinking of much higher targets and really start thinking of how can you grow 5x. And we've got multiple businesses that are on the path to doing that. So for us, it's really about tapping into the energy that is in India today. We feel that there is tremendous potential here, and across businesses, we're looking for exponential growth. On the technology side, that is going to be a game changer. And our focus is that we will be a tech leader in every industry that we're playing in. And that starts with people. Our mandate to our CEOs is that you will be a tech leader. Don't tell us your IT department can answer the questions or your CTO can answer the questions. The CEO must be the tech leader. Every business leader must be a tech leader. And similarly, every tech leader must be a business leader because technology is intertwined in what we do today. Gen AI will change the game, but Gen AI is just one of the many. I do feel that the hype is greater than reality right now, but in the longer term, it will actually do a lot more than what many of us think. Beyond that, we've got various aspects of AI that have still not fully been tapped into. We've got quantum computing that's coming up around the horizon. And there are many other technologies that we've got to look at. Metaverse is one of them. So all of these combined will really change the way in how industries operate. And that is something that we've got to be at the forefront of.
You mentioned Gen AI, and this is one of the themes the Prime Minister is very keen on. He has spoken about it, inducting Gen AI into education, into health. And one big area is agriculture, and you guys are big there. And the other area the government is very keen on. Yesterday, Maharashtra government has announced new policy for subsidies for rooftop solar. Now, rooftop solar is the other big idea. So you're in urban spaces, you're in rural spaces. How are you approaching the idea of pollination, of expanding renewables across India, which makes, in a sense, the idea of rooftop solar is part of the Atmanirbhar story because the consumer becomes Atmanirbhar in that. And how do you use AI in agriculture?
See, the good part of the Mahindra Group is more often than not, we are in that business already. So we are in rooftop solar today. We have a company called Solarize that has been doing this for many years. And the recent policies are exactly what was needed for the industry. And there is a huge benefit to doing this because it can save costs significantly for consumers. We are also in renewables, and we've just launched India's largest renewable InvIT. And in fact, by some metrics, it's Asia's largest renewable InvIT as well. And this is a business that's growing 5x right now. In fact, it's growing faster than 5x. The discussion we had just yesterday was, should we set a target for 10x growth in the next 5 years? So renewables and rooftop solar will grow significantly in India, and there's just huge opportunity there for companies to come in and take advantage of that.
How about taking Gen AI to the farmers? Is there like a flyover or a bridge or an SUV for taking this technology to the farmers?
See, Gen AI today is in experimentation mode, and we are actively experimenting across multiple things, right from the simplest things around improving call center dynamics to more complex things around product development and how can you reduce the cycle time of product development, to making life easier for the consumer in how they use their products. So there are multiple experiments that we're doing across each of our businesses. We have the advantage of Tech Mahindra coming in to be able to do that, and therefore our tech play with the use cases that we have in businesses start becoming very powerful.
Now, all these new technologies also threaten the existing economic models, the business models that companies have. How does India sort of position itself and harvest the demographic dividend that we've been promised for so many years?
So first, in this threat lies the opportunity. And this is really where it plays to India's strength. India's strength has been IT services, but IT services businesses have also graduated from being a BPO to doing a lot more than that and being at the cutting edge of technology today. And that's how we can lead Gen AI, but what is required is merging that with industrial businesses. It can't be IT services just doing that for global clients. How do we make that part and parcel of what we do in every single business that we are in? And that's the journey that we are on right now.
So the big challenge really is in agriculture and how to take AI and other technologies. And I've come back to you because you are in Mahindra as a finance house, as a house that does credit, as a house that produces tractors, as somebody who's involved in infrastructure projects and in rooftop solar. The big challenge is that 45% of India's labor force is dependent on 1/6 of the national income. This is where poverty of India or the poor of India are located, which is why we have to feed 80 crore people with ration. Is there anything that is ongoing that you can share with the room? Any idea, secret, I don't want you to get into trouble with regulators or your shareholders, but anything that is inspiring you that you could make this happen, the change that you want to see.
So a lot is happening already. So each of our tractors can now have a sensor that gives a lot of information to the farmer. And there are multiple ways for us to now look at how much seed do you need in the soil, where do you need that, what is the moisture level in the soil, how much fertilizer is required, and therefore you put only that level of fertilizer. With drone technology, it becomes automated in doing so, and you not only save on seeds and fertilizers, you also ensure much healthier crops as a result of that. How do you look at diseases coming in even before they come in, scanning for that, identifying what the disease is and being able to address that in a pinpoint manner rather than waiting for the disease to spread to a huge part of the crop and then trying to put pesticides over all of it. So there are multiple technologies that are out there today that we are driving that enable all of these things and therefore will increase productivity of farmers quite significantly.
I mentioned to you about demographic dividend, and sort of this is one point got left, is India's largest employers are the technology companies, the IT companies. And this has not been a very good year for students in campuses. I'm told barely a tenth of the number of 1.5 million engineers that we produce are being recruited. How does Tech Mahindra see this as an opportunity, as, because the disruption that is there and the uncertainty that is there in the world is sort of pushing a lot of young people are feeling anxious about this year, as you know, and you are probably one of the companies which goes to all the campuses, business schools and engineering schools. So young people are anxious. What will you tell them to make them feel more assured about the placement scene?
So first thing I'll tell them is Mahindra is hiring. We are growing at a rapid pace across businesses, but there are many other Indian companies that are growing at a rapid pace now as well. So there may be certain blips we see from time to time, but I would say that's just temporary right now. We have the advantage of the demographic dividend, and that's compared to countries that are declining in populations. And there are some estimates that say that China will be half its population or 40% of its population in a certain period of time. Japan's going to be 75% of its population or reduced by 25%. And India has the advantage where we're going to grow and our workforce is going to grow. We're going to reach the peak by 2030. And for that we do need to create a lot more jobs, but we also do need to increase manufacturing 16 times. So as we think about the potential we have, all of this comes together. If we grow at a low rate, that will in fact be a disaster for us because we will not be able to provide jobs. At the rate of growth we have, it's all about learning and skilling, because industries will change, they will adopt. The kind of jobs we have today may not exist 10 years later, but if learning and skilling happens at a good pace, then people will adapt to it, and that's what we've done over many decades. So I don't see issues in doing that.
And you see the government actively doing that, an active labor policy where upskilling, reskilling is part of their program?
We see the government actively doing that. In fact, just 2 weeks ago, I was in detailed discussions with the Ministry of Education, with the Minister as well as with the Secretary there, and they are very keen to do a lot more. There are a number of policies they've outlined. They're looking at how to transform ITIs in a much more significant way. There are 15,000 ITIs that we have. They're looking for public-private partnerships for the ITIs. So in my role as FICCI, we are looking at how do we really help transform education and skilling in India that will enable us to be able to adapt to the changing times that we will face.
Last and most interesting question that a lot of people in the audience would like to know from you is what is it about the Indian CEO that makes him or her so desirable for global companies? I mean, if you go to the Bay Area, you go to the financial sector, you see Indian names on all the C-suites. What is it about Indian CEOs that makes them so desirable for global corporations?
So I'd say there are a lot of things. First is that we've had to compete at every level, and that includes everyone in this room, to to get to where we are. And if you look at application rates at engineering schools in India, at medical schools in India, at management institutes in India, the selected percentage is far lower than Harvard or Yale or Stanford or any of the top universities in the world. So the level of competition has been very high right from the very start. And that enables you to continue getting better. The second is the ability to deal with uncertainty. Right? Things have never been laid out on a platter and said, here's what it is. You've got to be able to find ways, create a framework, create a structure, and deal with uncertainty. And it's also being able to deal with people. I think these are some of the things that really help Indian CEOs or Indian leaders stand out amongst the others.
And if I were to ask you a one-line guru mantra for youngsters, what would it be?
Have the right balance in life. Yes, there's a lot that will happen from a work standpoint, and I know that there is a lot of ambition, which is a good thing, but have the right balance that enables you to look back at life and say, I lived it well.
As Gautam Buddha said, impermanence is the only permanent thing. Thank you very much. It's been a lovely conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Shah, for laying out what is working for India and the things where we have to put in the work to achieve the Viksit Bharat dream. Please do stay with us as I invite on stage Avinash Pandey, CEO ABP Network, to kindly present Dr. Shah with a small memento as a token of our gratitude. Thank you so much, sir, for giving us time today. A huge round of applause for Dr. Shah. And thank you, Mr. Aiyar, for doing the honors. Thank you very much indeed, gentlemen.
Thank you. And before I get off stage, just shout out to Sanjeevani for just an excellent prayer this morning. We were batchmates at Sydenham College. I'm very proud to be her batchmate.
Thank you very